What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are doing a little local mission, but before we get into this, I want to roll back on a recent trip that Scotty Boy and I did, and it was kind of a bust, but something kind of crazy happened. So check out this.
All right, you guys. Sorry about all that wind noise, but unfortunately I didn't have my mic that day. But you can see we jumped onto another trip that was actually off the jet ski, and I'm going to take you from the beginning to the end of this day, and it was kind of a bust, which is a little bit of foreshadowing that goes on to the rest of the trip. So go ahead, hold your breath with me. We first started diving this shallower area, has a lot of rubble down at the bottom. And whenever I'm doing this kind of diving, I don't necessarily see anything from the surface. I mean, I always could because you can kind of make out the bottom a little bit. But on this kind of diving, I'm hoping something pops its head out of the cracks. Some of the, you can see there's a lot of holes and nooks and crannies these fish can hide, whether it's snapper or grouper or anything like that. And then also, whenever I'm down there, I'm grunting, I'm making noise, hoping that maybe even there's some muttons off in the distance in the sand, hopefully going to come in. But there was a barracuda right there. And like I said, this is our first drop. We're not chumming. We just have the flashers with the jet ski. And we're hoping to start shallow, which is where we are now, and really hoping that just make our way to different areas in the area that we're diving. So this was the first drop of the day. Again, just going down, side scanning everything, hoping that something comes in off from the sand or something pokes its head out of the cracks there. Because when you're free diving, you don't really have a whole lot of time to go down and scour an area to the maximum ability you can. I mean, you could do that, but it would take forever, especially with the vast areas that we're diving. So the best thing you can do is go down, make a little bit of noise, some commotion, and usually things pop their head out of the hole. And then maybe later on another dive, if you see them and have another breath hold, you can go down and pursue that fish that you know is in the rubble pile. But on this drop, nothing came up. But trust me, you're going to want to hang out and watch till the end of this. There's some wild things that happened on this dive.
Yeah, let's go shoot a wahoo, get the monkey off our backs.
So you heard Scott and I talk about it, that we wanted to go for a wahoo. So we went to a different area that was a little bit deeper, has some serious wrecks in the area. And something we found out when we went down, it was so fishy, but the current was absolutely pumping. Probably the worst I've ever seen it pumping in this area, to the point where you could actually see vortexes and whitewater circling around at the surface. And mind you, to the sand, it's about 90 feet here. So obviously I'm not going all the way down, but I'm just kind of doing a little bit of hovering, hoping that some pelagics come in. And the current's just booking me right up to this wreck and this structure. And you can see that just the life is just teeming all around. When I went over the edge of this sunken ship, there's a cubera right in the middle of the screen, or a couple cuberas. I kind of slowly pursue them, but they end up darting right there. And once they do that, they get very finicky. There's some amberjacks, which I guess I could have pursued, but in this kind of current, if it gets wrapped around the wreck and the current pulls me, it's going to be just a nightmare and a disaster. So I decide to opt out of shooting anything, but again, I saw some even more cuberas down at the base of the wreck, and now I'm going to go up, tell Scott what I saw, and maybe make another plan of attack on this same area now that we have the drift down and know the conditions. I think we did a couple of drifts in this, zone, and I don't remember which one this was, but this was a really good dive. End up heading down, basically make the same drift, hit the same structure as the previous dive a little bit later, but I know it's the same zone, the same area, hoping to get on some fish here. I make a drop, and I go to look over the structure. So that was the first structure, and then this is the second part of the sucker chip. You see how fast the current is just ripping me across here. And I actually line up on a fish once I pass this wreck. There's some lemon sharks, some bull sharks in the distance. I see a nice yellowtail snapper, and I'm trying to steady the gun, but you see just the current is just kicking my gun to the side, and I realize at this point this is absolutely pointless. I'm not even able to aim my gun at the fish without the current kicking my gun back and forth. So if I were to shot, it just would have been a Hail Mary and hope that I hit something. So I decided to, you know, cut my losses, head to the surface, and yellowtail snapper, you can see there's a lot of options down there, but yellowtail snapper are absolutely delicious and really hard to spear, except later in this video I do get to spear one, but I come up a little bit empty-handed. Well, kinda. So just stay tuned, and you're gonna want to see that in just a minute here.
Bro, let's move along. I tried to shoot a yellowtail. I couldn't even shoot it because my gun, I was trying to like steady my gun. I couldn't even steady my gun. Dude, it's ripping.
You can like feel different waves of it hitting you as you descend to descent.
All the fish are hiding behind the wrecks because they can't fight the current. It's nuts. Dude, I'm literally trying to shoot a yellowtail, and I like holding my gun. I'm like trying to shoot it, and then I like grab I'm trying to track it, like, and it's the fish is moving still, but my gun is just like kicking all over the place.
Did you pull the trigger?
No, there was like 4 sharks around too, like 2 lemons and 2 bulls.
After we figured that that place was undiveable pretty much because the current was so bad, we decided to go somewhere a little bit shallower. We're in like, I'd say probably between 60 and 70 feet to this rubble. And when this rubble, like I said before, you know, you saw what happens when I go down, make a lot of noise, nothing comes out. But on this drop, go down to some rubble, start making some noise, some grunting, and look off in the distance and find a nice dog snapper. And these dog snapper are pretty agile, and you'll see, you know, on this dive how agile they can be. But I think it was right there I kind of spotted it. Actually, maybe not. I don't remember. I think I'm just kind of drifting along. And again, the current is pretty ripping here also. So it's kind of scooting me across the bottom here. I'm just, you know, keeping my eyes peeled, looking for anything popping out of the structure. And I believe something does now. Yep, see dog snapper right there. Came out to the commotion, and he's on the move, and he darts right there just in time. And I just hammer this concrete structure with the tip of my spear gun and just flatten my spear like to the max. And at this point, this is probably maybe about 4 hours into diving, and Scott and I are getting pretty frustrated and a little over the day already, but this next dive is next level.
Look at the tip of my spear. Well, I have to sharpen that thing down. Big dog. Yeah. Here, I'll hold that gun and drop.
So if you guys couldn't tell, the day has been going extremely poor so far. This is kind of winding down towards the end of us diving, and like I said, we've been diving for a while at this point. 0 fish in the boat or in the jet ski. Really haven't seen a whole lot, but because there's a lot of current, there's a lot of fish around, but really nothing worth shooting thus far, especially on this area. But I go ahead, head down to this one structure, same area roughly that I was diving before. It may have been on the same drift, I'm not quite sure. But head down, do a little bit of grunting, and at the top of the screen I saw a nice yellowtail. And that was kind of a smaller one. It's really hard to get one of these, but to the right I saw one kind of go under this pillar, and the thing is he wasn't coming out the other side, so I actually might get a shot on this guy. Get up under there, land a nice gill plate shot. And now these things are known to tear off, so I want to make sure I get that thing in my hands as soon as I possibly can. And that is something I was not expecting at all. A freaking monster Goliath came in and just chomped my hand. If you want to rewind that and see that in slow it down. It was absolutely unreal. Nothing like that has ever happened to me before, which is pretty wild.
Oh, you bastard. Bro. Goliath bit my hand. No, dude, I shot a stud yellowtail. Oh, man. Dude, he got me good. Son of a mother. Dude, like, I shot a flag. It was like this big. And he was like right at the edge of this pillar. And I was trying to like be gentle because it was like a good shot. Got a hold of the fish. And once I got a hold of the fish, it was like, boom! It hit me like a brick. Look, look.
Oh shit. Fucker got you, good?
I got it on video too.
That's all that matters.
Oh, dude, it was such a flag, and then he did that, and then it tore the fish out, and the fish took off, and the Goliath just, oh yeah, everything's fine. Hey, that video will go viral.
Yeah.
100%. It scared the f out of me, dude. And I was like, oh, and I like fought, and I like pulled my hand out. It was crazy.
Wait to see that.
It was nuts. Holy crap. I think that's our cue to go.
Huh?
That's our cue to go.
Yeah, let's go.
It's like, no, dude, we're not, like, what the one finally got a fish, a good one, and that happened. That's a sign.
Alright, you guys, that was absolutely wild. Kind of the first time that something like that's ever happened to me. Feel free to comment down below. Pretty scary. Honestly, it's one of the risks you take when you come out here. But on this trip, we got a little family mission. We got my buddy Ben, and we have my sister Paige, my dad running the boat, and we are going for wahoo. We're doing some wreck diving. We don't know what we're gonna get into. Fingers crossed we get wahoo, but we'll take what we can get. And I will see you guys down below with some voiceovers. I'll go over all the gear I'm using and my setups, and I'll see you guys down below.
Now that was some mild diving before, so here we're going to get into a little bit more of deeper depth, a little more intense diving, and also a lot more action, a lot more shooting, not necessarily catching, but you guys are going to learn from our mistakes and kind of see where we went wrong in certain areas. Now all these dives are going to be pretty deep and also a long breath hold because we're in probably over 100-foot depth, but we are chumming, hoping to bring in some wahoo or some pelagics. Not necessarily going to hunt the bottom, but on a couple of these drops I do go down all the way to the bottom. And when I hit those bottom drops, I really am hoping to bring in some kind of bottom fish, grouper, snapper. And usually on these really deep areas, if I don't bring in something, then it's a high chance that we move on to the new spot, because if there's nothing kind of at depth over here, it's not worth us kind of sticking around. There's a nice bull shark down at the bottom. I don't know if I went all the way down on this drop. Oh no, I did not, but I start grunting, kind of start descending, a nice mutton kind of comes into me. I'm weary of that bull shark, so I'm going to make sure I take a halfway decent shot. The thing kind of veers away last second, landed a good shot through the tail, spinning, and he just wrenches off. And I mean, I shot a good chunk of the fish. I don't know how he wrenched off. Maybe I could have taken a little bit more time, but I've already been down there for a while. If I would have pushed myself, probably wouldn't have had a shot at the fish. Now on this drop, I'm feeling really good. Again, where I'm keeping my eyes peeled in case a pelagic or a wahoo or some kind of kingfish comes by. I'm gonna land a shot. And if you see what I'm using, is I'm using the drop barb slip tip, which is from Rob Allen. I've had some really good luck with this thing. I've shot tuna in Costa Rica. If you haven't seen that video, make sure you see it. I'm using the exact same setup that I'm using here, which is a 120 Rob Allen Timberline roller with a drop barb slip tip, which, like I've said, I've had some really good success, including spearing some monster yellowfin tuna down in Costa Rica. But on this drop, I'm not really seeing a whole lot, but I'm feeling really good with my breath hold, so I'm just kind of descending. I'm not really booking it straight down to the bottom, but I'm just kind of flatlined out, scanning around, looking, you know, keeping an eye out in case a pelagic comes cruising by, because usually that's what happens. If you're descending and you're kind of like just a piece of trash floating down from the surface, some fish will just be curious, but what they'll do is they come and take a quick look and then they move along. So if you have your eyes peeled, you might catch them when they're on their way in and you can get a shot. But since I was feeling so good, I just decided to go ahead and head all the way down to the bottom. Again, just descending. I'm like laid flat, and I just kind of settled down into the sand. Now I think I looked off and I saw smaller muttons, but it was really nothing worth shooting and dealing with while I'm down there. Again, nothing really gave me a great shot, and at this point, this is probably one of my last dives at this spot. I was kind of over it, making, you know, 100+ foot drops, 2-minute dives, and not seeing a single thing. So we were kind of just over not seeing fish, especially, you know, when we're diving really well. So we wanted to move in a little bit shallower to maybe some more structure and hopefully get a fish, especially since we're diving really well at this point. Now this is honestly the first drop at this structure. It's just some concrete pieces down at the bottom, and as I'm going down, I notice the silhouette of a black grouper right there. You can see it kind of between those two rocks, and usually when they're kind of, you can tell by the body language, it's pretty chill. Now there's a Kubera at the bottom of my screen, but I opt out from him just because of the body language on this black grouper, and I know, I have a really good feeling he's going to give me a shot. Sure enough, he does. Lined up perfectly, and the spear fell out. Like, I have no idea what happened. I was using that drop barb, and honestly, I was a second away from actually switching to a regular barbed shaft, a single barb. And I was checking all the gear, seeing what was wrong. I have no idea. Maybe it like slipped off right before it shot in. This is my first issue I've ever had with it, and I slow it down here in a minute, so you'll see once I get to the surface.
Shot a nice black. Something happened, it didn't go in, or I don't know.
You guys, I don't know what happened with that grouper, but I'm gonna need to slow that footage down and see really what happened. I have no idea. I shot and I was ready to start ripping him up, and he just swam away. So I have no clue. I was dead on with my shot, hit right where I was planning to aim. I don't know. So I'm gonna take a look at it. Ben had a couple of heartbreaks too.
Now this is just seeming to be a huge compilation of failures. It's like one after another. So I mean, obviously that one jet ski trip, it was impossible to even have an actual video because we literally didn't spear anything. And so far this trip has been pretty unsuccessful, but let's hope that Ben can maybe land a fish or two on his dives. And this is his footage. He's shooting a Pathos, and again, I don't think it's anything wrong with the gear, just like, or the gun. I think it's just bad luck. And I mean on the previous dive I had the gear failure, but again, that's the first time that's ever happened, or I've even heard of that happening, where it doesn't engage, and it just seems to be like one of those days. Ben actually sees a nice hogfish, and they are in season whenever I shot this video, and took a shot, and I don't know how that missed. Maybe it looked like he darted immediately once he pulled the trigger, and he just jumped the shaft. And it's literally going to be, it's the exact same thing that happened to me, but just like bad luck. We're just having bad luck after bad luck. But hopefully he gets something on this next time, and we're all on his way. We're roughly in the same area, kind of in a different type of sand. It's a little bit of more hilly terrain rather than just a flat sand bottom. And Ben is doing the exact same thing, just heading down to the bottom, head tucked, hoping to see bottom, and once he gets to, once he gets to where he can make out the ocean floor, he starts kind of spinning a little bit, getting his bearings, looking around, hoping for a fish, and sure enough, he finds a nice mutton snapper. He kind of levels out, takes his time, gives him a really good shot, and again, just another whiff, or not whiff, but a tear out. I mean, these pretty much the fish that we're shooting are going to be fine. We just are just leaving these little tagged fish wounds, and we need to just dial it in. So I actually do get a fish on this trip, believe it or not, but you're gonna have to wait and see what I actually get when I get it. We have some funny dialogue at the surface. We're kind of just over being so crappy at spearfishing at this point.
I don't even want to talk about it.
Should I drop?
It was sand. That tells you probably what I shot at.
This is just to make sure that the day couldn't be any worse, and we just get absolutely hammered by freaking horrible shot after horrible shot. We got that. Anybody think of that? And our ramp is like right there. That's where we're going. And so we ran away from it, trying to hide from the wind, trying to hide from the lightning and the rain, and yeah, so
Mostly lightning.
pretty brutal.
You feel it when it rains.
When it rains, it pours.
Now, luckily, I brought my sister Paige. This is literally the first fish we put in the boat. There's a nice school of rainbow runners that are coming through. I'm making a drop down to the bottom, so I went ahead and left these fish for her because, as you can see, it's not super deep, but these are really good tasting fish. She levels out, and there's so many. They kind of pull that little trick on her, where there's so many, it's hard for her to pick the biggest one. She finally tracks down one, lands a really good shot, and I think she's using my Rob Allen, my Rob Allen 120 carbon barrel gun. She absolutely laces this rainbow.
Nice, Paige. Paige is bringing home dinner.
So at this point, I'm over taking silly shots. I switched back to a barb tip on my spear gun. I figured, you know what, there's no way I can fail now. I'm pretty kind of simplified everything. Gonna make sure I take my time on these fish, make really good shots. And the area I'm dropping at is the same area I shot at the black grouper, but I'm way up ahead of it, and I kind of sort of figured that there would be a lot of stuff in front of the structure. So I head down all the way down to the sand and kind of get an idea of my bearings of where the structure is, and I want to just head that direction and catch anything kind of out front of the structure looking out into the sand. So I'm just cruising, I'm going with the current, with the fish, and I'm not seeing the structure yet, and I don't want to kind of run out of air, and all these hogfish are legal size, so I pick the biggest one. Gonna make sure I take my sweet time on it and landed a perfect stone shot. So obviously it was just kind of one of those days where I wasn't getting fish, but I went ahead and grabbed the fish because those Goliaths were coming out looking at me, and when I saw that Goliath, to the right there is a nice black, and this is probably like a 30 to 40 pound black that came off from the structure. And the fact that it came out and was hanging out with those Goliaths is a really good sign, because I'm going to make another drop, which is wild. You'll see I have a shot on the fish, but the amount of Goliaths, after having my hand bitten a little while before, I have to second guess on taking a shot on this fish.
Nice black came out. Once I shot, yeah.
Now, this isn't the last dive of the day, but it is a very good one. Last one at this spot for sure. I start heading down. We kind of have the drift going perfectly. We set our tracks up to where we know every time we drift, we know if we went too far offshore, inshore, depending on where we drifted on the last, you know, pattern that the GPS shows on your track. So that last drift was absolutely perfect. I waited a little bit longer so I could get closer to the structure, so I didn't have to swim to it, so I would have plenty of time to deal with the fish if I end up shooting it, which I know I'm probably going to have an issue with, considering the fact that there were Goliaths everywhere. But as I head down to the bottom, did a little grunting, cruising down, and sure enough, I spot, obviously, the ton of Goliath grouper there, but also the black grouper pops out right about now. He was hiding behind that rock. Nice fish. That Goliath is just waiting for me to pull the trigger. I'm only going to make a shot if I have a really good shot. This guy seems a little darty. I'm not going to take a Hail Mary, body shot, or anything like that. That's just asking for a disaster, because I know those Goliaths will just turn on the fish. He kind of starts cruising off into the sand. Maybe I should have just went to the sand and grunted a little bit, but I don't know. Black grouper are really tough. Comment below if you think, or what you think I should have done in that scenario. If I should have just taken the shot, if I should have waited, went to the bottom, just let me know in the comments below.
It's a nice black. No chance. I had a shot, but if it wasn't a stone shot, I would have been. He was sitting there with like 5 Goliaths. Dude, he was like this big. It was a big black.
Since I saw that fish kind of skirt off, I had a feeling that there was no sense in continually diving the same area, especially since we're kind of winding the day down. So we decided to hit up the reef on the way in. We ended up making a couple of drifts here, but this was the first drift of this reef structure area. I head straight down to the bottom. I'm at the edge, and that's usually the place I really like to hunt. I like to hunt where the sand meets the reef. That's whenever I, you know, and that's when I could pull basically 2 different types of fish. I could pull snapper and hogfish off from the sand, and then I can also pull grouper in off of the reef if I can make some noise. As I head down to the bottom, I see a small mutton snapper straight ahead, but then I look to my left, and there was a really big one coming in. And as I pursue this, I end up seeing Ben made a drop this right after, and he doesn't see the fish, but this fish kind of skirts away from him. I start chasing it. It's giving me the tail wag. I have a really good, kind of a good shot right there. Ben has an angle of me, and I land a shot kind of mid-body in the fish, and the thing just keeps spinning, and wrenches off again. And at this point, I'm so pissed, and you'll see it in my, you'll hear it in my voice and see it in my reactions once I hit the surface and when I get the boat. Super frustrating day. Comment below if you ever have days kind of like this one.
Me.
Well, won't be able to forget that one.
Fuck.
Another story and no fish.
Dude, that basically sums up our day. God, dude, that's so annoying. I make it like first drop on this like shallow stuff, go down, get to the sand, hook off, nice mutton, like definitely legal, don't have to think about it. Then I turn to my left and a freaking one like twice its size, like like coming in on me. And I like turned to it, didn't realize, but Ben also dropped, and Ben was like dropping right on top of it, so it kind of swam out, and then I followed it. He's tail wagging, finally like turned sideways, aimed like mid-body, took a shot, laced it. Like, I was like, oh dude, I got this guy. Dude, he just wrenched, and just somehow wrenched himself off of that thing. Dude, like, probably wrenched like this much. Like, it was like almost center, like back third, and he just wrenched right off. Dude, we suck. It's just one of those days. We should be fish rich right now, but we said we are poor and leaving a bunch of flesh wounds. We suck. It's one of those days.
You guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I am out on the sleigh vessel. I got some more adventures coming your way. If you guys enjoyed this one, give it a thumbs up. Also, do me a favor, you guys, new merch is in. I teamed up with Red Rums. Link is in the description below. And also go to their website, check out all the amazing gear they have. I'm so stoked on this drop. This new logo is probably one of my favorite of all time. And also comment down below, let me know what you guys think.